So the Penguin is a truly sensational origin storyline of the notorious supervillain told as an Italian mob gangster epic. Honestly, this show just deserves it all. And is both riveting and disturbing, especially as you're following Oswald Cobblepot's every single move, and you're thinking that maybe they're going to go in the anti-hero direction that obviously Sony Pictures went with all of the Spider-Man villain movies. But thankfully over here, they did the exact opposite, and they truly showed what a monstrous villain the Penguin really is. And so from that perspective, it's actually pretty unique, as we've never spent this much time purely with a villain, and the way in which they ended this series really does demonstrate how twisted and barbaric this guy really is. And originally, the Penguin was going to be a movie, and I'm so glad that they went with the direction to actually convert it into a mini-series, as every single episode did kind of feel like its own mini-movie, and I just feel like it painted and brought together this tragic backstory of not only the Penguin, but also Vincent, and also Sophia Falcone as well, and there are so many deaths across this series. And also, the mini-series format I feel like was really, really good in terms of really painting this deep, dark picture of Gotham City, and I feel like the HBO magic was truly there to make it into a true epic series with fantastic writing. And even though we've seen Gotham City a number of times now across movies, TV shows, and animation, I feel like they were able to do something unique in terms of making it original, whilst also slotting in with everything that you've seen before, and so it has that signature darkness that Gotham City is known for. And one of the best things that I feel like the Batman brand is able to do that you definitely see here is creating a two-tier society in terms of the really rich elite having it all, and then the people at the bottom just don't. And so there is just such natural conflict taking place between the two groups. And one of my favorite things about this miniseries is that it did a pure origin backstory of both Sophia and Oz, and those episodes honestly were just magic. So let's talk about that epic ending. So Sophia Giganti Falcone is ready to start a new life, and before she does that, she just wants to end her reign in Gotham by killing Oz, who has obviously been the main downfall of her entire life, as he is the one that snitched on her and told her father everything about her potentially going to the press, which turned this really lovely girl who was really philanthropic into somebody completely different by turning her world upside down, and was ultimately the first domino effect of her going into Arkham Asylum. By the way, the Arkham Asylum episode was just absolutely unreal. The way in which you see the degradation of the Sophia character, I feel like that episode alone needs to be studied because it was just so brilliantly constructed, and also the deconstruction of that character. And even though you're tuning into the Penguin series, you're really rooting for Sophia by the end of that episode. And so this is kind of like a fate worse than death, as Sophia is being dragged back to her hell on earth. And the way in which this was taking place in the final couple of moments in this series was just so shocking, as Sophia is thinking that Oz is going to kill her off, but instead he masterminded and was the true puppet master in terms of using all of the evidence that he has gathered across this series. For example, putting all of the drugs, the death of Salvatore, all of that is going to be blamed on Sophia. So he just planned it all so strategically well. And he kind of did his own Order 66 with the deputy of each of the gangs across Gotham City killing their bosses. And another thing that needs to be studied is Oz's relationship with his mother, as he was willing to kill off his own brothers just to be closer to her. And that final confrontation that Sophia created in terms of his mother basically saying that she wants to disown him, and also saying that she had enough love inside of her heart for all three of them, and also making him promise to her that if she completely loses her mind, she wants him to kill her off, but even though she's in this vegetative state, he still won't be able to do it, and is pretty much trapping her in a state that she doesn't want to be in, but in a really weird, twisted way. She always dreamed of having a penthouse, and now he's putting her in this place, and if that wasn't bad enough, he always just wants his mother's approval and his love. So his girlfriend Eve, he has now dressed her up as his own mother, and he's getting her approval through Eve. But the most heartbreaking thing of all is of course the fact that he took Vic's life, the character that truly did see Oz as a father and was there for him in so many different occasions. In his twisted mind, the way he justified it is that Vic was able to see him at his most vulnerable state, and he truly did love Vic as a son, but he just wanted to remove and destroy all that vulnerability so that he can truly become the mob boss at the top that doesn't have any weaknesses. Maybe he had a little bit of a palpable Palpatine complex as well, in terms of thinking that maybe Vic one day is going to kill him off. But the irony is that Vic could have protected him from so many other people that would have wanted to take his life. And as his mother is now in a coma that she probably won't ever recover from, he just wants to remove that part of him completely. And when he put his arm over Vic, you can just kind of see that this is the beginning of the end, especially how brutal it was. And Vic was just so powerless, and you truly did have your heart breaking for Vic. I'm convinced though that Vic didn't die here, and maybe he'll get his consciousness back, as Colin Farrell has said that he has signed on for 3 Batman movies, and maybe in the 3rd one, Vic is going to be the person that does ultimately kill him off, as he could be this universe's equivalent to Jason Todd, and I would love it if he actually joined Robert Pattinson's Batman. So they end the Penguin series in such a good way. Of course, he destroyed in such a crazy way earlier on his brilliant car, and now he's got an even bigger, better, bolder purple car. He's got a really expensive suit, and he's got his own brilliant penthouse. So he truly has risen to the top, and we got to see the bat signal right at the end. It's a shame that we never got to see Batman. I can see why, as he obviously would have detracted the storyline so much, and they just wanted to focus it purely on Penguin and Sophia. But the Batman Part 2 can't come soon enough, and I hope that they do give the Penguin a big part in it. So let's go through all the cast and characters now. So Colin Farrell deserves all of the awards, as his transformation into the Penguin is just absolutely incredible. And I love how they showed how this character became this character, not only right at the end, but also from childhood. And he's always been really impulsive, and clearly has got a bit of a devil gene inside of him. For example, what he did to his brothers, what he did to Alberto in the first couple of moments of this series. But he's also really quick on his feet, so he's able to get out of certain situations just through the words, and he knows the game, he knows all of the players, he knows what to say to everybody to get their influence. And in equal measure, he's really charismatic, really calculated, and also incredibly dangerous. Cristin Milioti is truly sensational as Sophia Gigante Falcone. The transformation of this character across the series was just absolutely brilliant. And like I said earlier on, the Arkham Asylum episode was just absolutely insane. How she started off philanthropic, confronting her father, being chucked into Arkham Asylum, getting so much abuse in Arkham, then getting out 10 years later, all of her family pretty much keeping her in there, then getting revenge on all of them, trying to get revenge on Oz, trying to run away, then seeing the Selena Kyle link. All of her facial expressions were so good. You can see that she's really unhinged, but also not one to be messed with at all. Rhenzy was so good as Vic. I feel like he really is the heart and soul from the audience's perspective in this world, and he was truly having Oz's back on so many occasions. Especially the best episode I have to see, the final cliffhanger, was when Penguin is in episode 3 is building a relationship with Sophia, and then in the last moment when Salvatore's wife and kids and family come and confront them, and then he's like, look, you can have all of the drugs, and then Sophia is putting all of the pieces together that actually he is the person that killed Alberto. If it wasn't for Vic, he would not have got out of that situation. So I feel like Victor was such a brilliant character, and Rhenzy just played him so well. He has to come back, and it's a shame his performance isn't getting more recognition. Deirdre O'Connell was brilliant also as Ma. Frances' story, like everybody else's, is also so tragic, as she had to lose 2 of her sons at the hands of Oz. And then she also figured it out, and the way in which Sophia and her partner were forcing her to go back into the past so that Sophia can learn everything that took place. All of the character development with her across this series as well was really, really good. Mark Strong was obviously recasted as Carmine Falcone, and he is the person that was happy to send his daughter to Arkham Asylum. Clancy Brown, absolutely brilliant as Salvatore, and then you can see in the early scenes that he's taking heart medication, and then suddenly, unexpectedly, with the fight against Penguin, he suddenly just collapses with a heart attack, and Penguin is like, what? I was expecting a much bigger fight with you. It was really shocking also that Alberto was killed off in the first few moments of the show. It was nice that he at least came back through flashbacks. I wish you would have seen a little bit more with him, as he could have been a really interesting character, as he really loved all of the money, loved all of the power. Of course, he wasn't that smart, and people would have just played him for a fool, but I just wish that we would have seen a little bit more. But of course, they wanted to have a really shocking opening. And on that point, they killed off so many characters in pretty much every single episode. I was like, you are running out of characters to kill off, guys. And like I said before, I do think it was the right decision to not have Batman, even though I would have loved him to have been in there, because he's such a big force of nature. He would have just distracted away from both Penguin and Sophia, who really should be the main focuses. But of course, we got the back signal right at the end, so the next installment will be all about Batman. So overall, The Penguin is such an absolutely phenomenal show, and totally deserves all of the Emmy recognition. And I now just cannot wait for the Batman Part 2. But as far as the Penguin miniseries is concerned, I absolutely loved it, and so I'm going to give it a solid 8.5 out of 10. Now I'd love to hear from you. What did you think of the Penguin? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.